everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Karthika and I'm from Lead Squared's marketing team, and I will be your host for the day. We have almost come to the end of the year of 2022, and I'm sure that everyone is excited to, learn more about the new year and what's going to happen. So many questions. So today we will be talking about rethinking enrollment marketing for the year of 2023. So, joining me are our speakers for the day. We have Mr. Prashant Kancherla, who is the Vice President of Products at Ozontel. Hi, Prashant. Thank you for partnering us today to deliver yet another webinar. Please tell us a bit about you and what we can expect from you in this webinar.
Thanks, Karthika. Hi all, this is Prashant. I've been with Ozontel since 11 years now in the contact center industry. I was one of the guys who designed the product which we sell in the market right now. So, I'll try to share some experiences of the past 11 years, what worked, what did not work, specific to education sector.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Looking forward to learning from you today. We also have a very familiar face, I'm sure, Mr. Murli Krishna. Murli is the Vice President of Sales here at Lead Squared. He's taken so many webinars for us here at Lead Squared, and I'm sure a lot of you all are already familiar with him. So, yes, Murli, for the people who don't know you, please share a bit about you and your journey so far.
Thanks, Karthika. So I'm Murli. I'm with Lead Squared from last 9 years now. I come with 12 years of sales experience, majorly B2B sales. And for the last couple of years, we as a business are focusing on education as an industry. And today we are here to share our experiences and learnings in terms of how the industry is pivoting and how colleges are looking forward and how tools like Lead Squared Ozontel can help colleges in that journey.
Definitely. I'm sure we have a very knowledge packed session today. But yes, before I hand the session over to the speakers, I have a few pointers to the audience over here. So, throughout the session, if you have any questions, please do put it up on the questions tab. It will be towards the right side corner of your screen. So, any questions, do put it up towards the end of the session. Our experts will take them up. And we also have a couple of polls here for you. So do respond to them. I'll be reminding you in the chat box to respond to them. And please do that because we'd love to hear from you. All right. So with that, let me just quickly share my screen and we can take a look at the agenda points for the day. Uh, okay, one second. Sorry. Yes. All right. So today we will be discussing about the key channels and processes that will drive enrollments in 2023. We'll also be discussing about how to increase student engagement through telephony and automation. We'll also be discussing about activating an omni-channel marketing for enrollment processes. Last but not the least, building a smoother onboarding process for students. And of course, our experts here have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience to share with you, so I'm looking forward to this. And yeah, with that, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Karthika. So, while we would be talking about some of the marketing channels and processes which might be beneficial for educational institutions in the future. Okay. But what I would like to do is, while there are certain things you would do to get those leads from students, the most important piece, though, is once you get a lead, what do you do as well, right? So we will be talking about lead to conversion efficiencies and things like that. Okay. Now, if you see, the biggest point for me was $75 billion lost revenue due to poor student experience. That's one of the biggest factors which an educational institute can look at, because that's an opportunity more than a problem from a sales point of view. Now, if you look at your ICP, which is a student, probably you're looking at a generation which is more towards texting. Okay, they might not be interested in taking calls unless it's a real emergency, right? So, having different channels of communication is really, really important. And it depends on the kind of educational institute you are. So, let's say you are the traditional college, for example, right? Maybe your students only use WhatsApp; they don't use anything else. If you're an online educational institute, maybe your students just like web chat. They come to your website more often than anything else. So web chat might be the mode for them in terms of digital communication. And if you ask me, okay, so no, would nobody call in? That's not the case. Voice is definitely going to be there always because even though texting is going to take priority, voice will remain as a premium mode of communication because it's real time. When I call in to a B2B business, right, I know that I'm talking to somebody and I'll get a resolution right now. Whereas in a web chat, you never know whether that's going to happen or not as a customer. So the biggest thing while implementing these different channels, right, is responsiveness. So how quickly are your sales members or people who are responding to these digital interactions? They actually respond to those chats and messages that come on board in the digital medium. Voice, of course, is real time, so there's always somebody to pick the call and answer the questions. But are you giving equal priority to the digital texting mediums as well? Is something to be reviewed definitely because that's where what I've seen in the last 2 years, while every business has gone through saying that we need a omni-channel environment, we will implement that. They haven't allocated sufficient resources to cater to those digital mediums, and that's where you lose most of the business, especially if you're trying to capture leads and that too of a generation which is students. Okay, so if it was like a middle-aged man like me, maybe I would be patient and wait for 2 minutes for a response. This generation would not wait for it.
Yeah,
So it
just to
actually
add,
depends on the
yeah,
ICP.
just
Yeah,
to
Murli.
add, Prashant, so other important factor is a lot of colleges do everything. Like I know they want to do calls, they want to do SMS, they want to do WhatsApp, like bots, like everything at a time, right? So,
Yeah,
and I have personally seen a lot of colleges where they don't realize the best mode of communication based on the type of category or the student or the type of course what they're offering, right? So in the long run, identifying which will work for a college becomes the key, right? Number one. And what is the category of students which you are reaching out, right? For example, if you're a college running BTech programs, right? Majority of the decisions are still parent driven in India, at least. Most of the BTech, especially private colleges, parents decide most of the categories, right? Now, if you talk about an MBA college, where most of the decisions usually the student is taking, and the student is the front facing guy, right? So usually parents may not even come and talk in majority of the scenarios. And in online, in majority of the cases, if you're targeting the working class of the society, then probably the best mode is not calls, right? They may not be ready to get on a call because they're already busy, right? So understanding your audience and choosing the right channel of communication, that becomes the key for future. So
absolutely. Yeah. So in fact, that's what it is. So for somebody else, WhatsApp might be working really well, but for your business, maybe email will work. Like what Murli said, right? If you're targeting working executives, email might be the best mode of communication for them. Maybe WhatsApp is not the best channel, or SMS is not the best channel. So it depends exactly on who your ICP is, and then decide the medium of communication. Voice is still used for inbound, I would say more for inbound. And when you try to do outbound, right, we have to be careful that we don't spam the users. Otherwise, your conversions go down drastically. Because once users get a negative impression about the business brand that you're spamming too much, your chances of conversion go down. Even if you try to communicate with them in other mediums as well. That brings me to this slide where actually when you're looking at mediums of communication, what you're going to use, right, you have to look at it as omni-channel, not as multi-channel. There's a difference. When you do multi-channel, right, you're still communicating with people on all the digital mediums, voice, all channels, but you don't know your customer. This is in the CX industry, we are now calling it as voice of the customer. Okay, so if you look at it, you need omni-channel where you actually know the customer, what he's talking about. Did Prashant call in twice yesterday? But he also had a web chat with us like 1 hour back. And now I'm actually he sent an email and I'm responding to his email now. That's omni-channel, where you know about the customer journey across different channels and you can see it at one go. And using Lead Squared, you can do that. That brings to that point of seamless CRM integration. So unless you have that in place, right, it's very difficult to get real efficiencies in sales and get the real ROI from the marketing money that is going in. Yeah, and we just wanted to present to you an idea. Again, like I said, right, the standard template might not work for all businesses. You will have to look at what works for you as a business. But what we are seeing in the industry is more and more marketing campaigns are being rolled out where there is an omni-channel design in place. You might have seen this sequencing in HubSpot for emails. Okay? So you can do the same thing, actually broaden that scope and do it actually for your marketing campaigns, especially for a market like India, right? Yeah, you don't know where the user is. Okay, so sometimes they're on WhatsApp, sometimes on messaging, sometimes email, sometimes phone calls. Now, do you have enough data to see when your users are active on which medium? Okay, if you have, you're one of the luckiest guys. Usually, you don't get that data unless you have created those trends in the CRM system. Okay, but ideally, what based on past experience, what I've seen works for businesses is start with one medium of communication. Let's say you start with SMS, which is non-intrusive. You've sent some promotional material, but also include a number from which you would make a call at an expected time. Okay. Usually, the users, when you call at that supposed time, like let's say I message you saying I'll call you at 5 p.m. This is the reason for the call, and then you make a phone call, and now you have Truecaller for business, Google verified calls. There are so many other things you can do on calls, right? You can give a reason for why you're calling in. So use that to make that phone call and see whether the user answers or not. Now, even then, obviously, not everybody is going to answer, right? There about 40%, 50% answer rates is what you get, even on qualified leads. So then what do you do? Do you go the email route or the WhatsApp route? What is the easiest way to send that after call activity, right? So you still tell the user, hey, we tried to reach you at this time, but we couldn't reach you. Ideally, what has worked in the past is don't go back to other mediums, even though you have options. Like WhatsApp is the current trend. Everybody is saying WhatsApp, right? But if you started with an SMS, ideally end it with an SMS on the first try. And the next retry sequencing that you do, maybe try a different medium, start with a different medium, but end it with the phone call. And usually don't do more than three phone calls at max in a day. That has been the trend. And especially if these are marketing activities, if these are not opt-in leads, I would say one phone call a day is the max. Rest of it has to be digital, completely non-intrusive. The user knows the information what he needs, and he will react when they have to. So this is more like a funnel building activity that we do. And email not used much in the Indian market right now, but like I said, it depends on the ICP. Using based on your ICP, maybe email would work better for your business. That should be kept in view. But usually, what I've seen, phone call plus SMS, or the sequencing is send SMS to the phone call at the prescribed time, then send an SMS back saying, "Hey, we tried to reach you. This is the reason why we are reaching you," and maybe a action call to action in the SMS itself. Yeah, Murli, I think
Yeah.
this is your expertise. Yeah.
Yes. Before this, as we are talking about trends and how exactly things will evolve probably every passing year. So in one of the discussions, we are talking about how college admissions work in 2050, not even 2023 or 2024, right? So how the admissions look like, let's say, that's a thought which we are just debating upon. So then there are various folks in the meeting. One of them was saying, what if counselors will be completely gone, right? Like there's no need of a process of counseling. What if the student gets all the information upfront, right? Or what if that there is a virtual process where he can actually have a view of the college and understand what exactly they offer. And there is a other thought process on whether can you replace calls at all, right? Like admission can happen self serve, like without anybody getting involved in the process. Now all these are obviously very futuristic to even debate, but one thing as of today is very clear, is in colleges the admission process needs some kind of intervention from the college to get the final admission done, right? And majority of the colleges, like we may not talk about the IITs or the premium institutes where there is a set of process and the student goes on their own, but all the private colleges, schools, even engineering colleges for that matter, all of them have or need to have some kind of a process to make sure that they are in the race, right? And post COVID, this has actually increased in leaps and bounces because a lot of colleges were on pen and paper. They don't have digital presence, much online presence. So that actually COVID definitely changed that practice. Now, in the last 1 2 years, whenever I meet a college, they talk about going digital, or they're already digital and they want to improvise and automate a lot of processes, right? The same applies for lead generation also. So in one of the events I was talking, and one of the renowned college chairman, so he asked one question to the audience, or the audience are also colleges and admission heads of the colleges, right? So what is the motive in terms of running a marketing campaign, right? Like why colleges run digital ads or marketing campaigns? So most of them answered to generate leads. That's a unanimous answer from most of the folks. But ideally it's just not about generating leads, right? So if the college is thinking that I do a Google campaign and generate a lead, and I do a tie up with XYZ portal and generate leads, the important factor is what you do after generating that lead, right? Like what are you planning to do with that? So you have a process in place on qualifying them better, faster? Do you have a process of prioritizing them on which lead to call first, right? Maybe let's say you get 1,000 leads from a partner, right? 1,000 prospective students. Now if you just say that your counselors will call all the 1,000 students, it's a sheer time waste, because calling 1,000 students will take 10 days probably, right? And in that the counselor is already vexed up that maybe 50% are junk leads, right? So how do you prioritize them, right? How do you identify which lead to contact first, right? Now in one of the telephony discussions, especially when I'm talking about ozone tel and players in that space, can the first call be automated? That's another kind of thought which is there in the market. Like, can the first call can be an automated call where you have a system driven message, and if the student is really interested, he will opt in, and then you continue the next conversation through the medium which you want to do, right? So ideally what a college should focus on, right, is post lead generation. What are the processes or what are the tools which you use to convert them better, right? And in this processes and tools, as Prashant mentioned, there will not be a one suit fitting all approach, right? You need to identify your area of expertise in terms of what is working for your college, and recently WhatsApp definitely is working for a lot of colleges. Bot conversations are helping a lot in terms of clarifying student queries. Now will the same work for your college? The answer may be yes and no, right? Now there is a college who does a very focused research work, right? And people opt that college because of the research work. Now for that college, maybe a student coming to the campus, visiting and talking to some of the members in the campus is the only way it helps, right? Now somebody else is choosing a college just for a graduation and a placement, right? So for him probably your approach is straightforward marketing, wherein you just say that these are the placement happened in the last 5 years and this is the ratio of students being selected. That itself can go a long way in terms of getting the student confidence and getting him signing up to the platform, signing up to the course, right? And I mean, before we talk on more, any questions, please feel free to drop on the chat box. We'll be happy to answer, and we can make it more interactive, because you are the people who actually know more information in terms of what is really happening in the college, right? Yeah. So as a CRM, and the other important point, coming to current scenario in the colleges, is colleges use different tools, but they use it in a way where the tools are not talking to each other. Like, they use the telephony system separately. They use a CRM which is not connected with telephony. They use SMS which is not even integrated to any of these systems. And then they use an ERP which is post enrollment, and ERP doesn't have any information of what happened pre enrollment, right? Now, if you see the future, at least the top colleges or majority of the colleges where they have digital presence, they are in the direction of making all tools talk to each other, and they have a central visibility on what is happening at each student, right? So they call it a student 360-degree view, right? Starting from an inquiry till enrollment and post enrollment, how this particular student journey looks like, right? Now, if you ask me that every college have to do it, again the answer may not be yes, right? So every college may not do it. But if you are a college who is having like more than 1,000+ seats, and uh, having different categories of courses, and you're thinking of going online, then that's the way forward, to have an integrated platform which actually connects all the dots and have a single view for the student, sorry, single view for the admins and the counselors, right? The other important factor is turnaround time. So a lot of spend is happening on digital leads. You get people, you are top in the search, and your college coming on top, and somebody is inquiring on a regular basis. How quickly can you contact them? Like, if I put an inquiry, can a college confidently say that my turnaround time to contact a student is, let's say, 1 hour? If an inquiry comes, I'll call in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, right? So can a college confidently say that, and they have a process to do it? That's the question which we need to answer, right? Now, that's where tools like Ozontel or Lead Squared comes into picture, where we improve the turnaround time, and we actually can define a process to improve it, right? And what happens post call, that's your follow ups, right? Can any college say that my follow ups are not being missed, right? And I'm sure all my prospective students are contacted and followed up. Now, again, the answer in most of the cases may be not sure, right? Because it's all counselor dependent. If the counselor is good and he's hardworking, let's say, and smart, he basically have a list of leads on a regular basis and calls and follows up, right? But the question is, can we automate that process? Can we create a mechanism where we guide the counselor that he doesn't miss a follow up, right? Or can we create a process where the system automatically reminds him about the follow up, without even checking and navigating to multiple screens, right? Or if you are a advanced or a little more edtech kind of a company, tools like Ozontel can actually do auto dialing, right? So wherein the system can dial the lead for you and connect to the agent, which is the next level of automation, right? Wherein you are not even asking the counselor to decide to call a lead or not. Rather, system decides whether to call a lead or not. Now, that may be too much for a college kind of a scenario, but if you are, I think in the audience there are some ed tech folks as well. So Prashant, if you want to quickly share on auto dialer functionalities, probably that will help the audience as well.
Yeah. So, like you said, right, automation is one of the key things. So what you're seeing is the first step has been IVR dialers, like you had mentioned, where there are no agents. It's mostly voice bots, no? Like 2 years back, people were just sending audio messages. It wasn't an intelligent message.
Correct.
It was just a fixed format audio file that you used to play, and there used to be one standard message: if you are interested in talking to us, press 9, something like that. Now it has become very, very innovative. even the dialer, it responds with a bot once the user answers the call. And we are even detecting mood. Okay, if based on background noise, if user is in a very noisy place, we disconnect the call, we send a message. Actually, we are doing sequencing like that. Okay.
Okay.
uh, Now, and the standard voice bot is about automation. So we ask the user a question, he responds back. Based on that, the bot would analyze and using NLP and then respond back with the next message which has to be played out. Usually, we try to keep the user interested and get him connected to an agent. Ultimately, that's the goal. But more or less, we try to collect at least that one or two things, like what is the name of the user, and usually the gender comes out with the name, right? And using voice anyway, we know what his gender is. So we are collecting that information and pushing it back to the CRM storage using dialers. Now, the second step of the journey is if these are warm or hot leads where user has actually shown interest in talking to the business. So maybe he filled your Google Ads form or a Facebook, he clicked on a Facebook ad and you got his information. That's where we use progressive and predictive dialers, where we are actually we have dedicated agents. Okay, so businesses will have dedicated people. These are usually sales agents who are handling the call, and we try to connect the lead as soon as possible to the agent of that business, because usually the trend is if you don't connect with the lead in 3 minutes, right, your conversion drops by about 50%. So the first 3 minutes is very, very crucial if somebody is filling up a form. And obviously the business has spent money in getting the user there. Okay. So it's really important that you use something like an auto dialer instead of depending on the traditional click to call kind of a message. So auto dialers, you should see where it has to be used, and uh, automation might not work every time. Like if it's a hot lead, you trying to put a voice bot for it won't work, right? You
Exactly.
need to have a sales guy there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So I think the point two in the slide, which is right, basically right message at the right time. That's the
Yeah.
key in any way, right? So there are I'll actually give some scenarios where you can use voice messages, right? Number one, wherever you as a college or an institute purchase data, right? Especially where you get bulk data from any of the sources, that's where probably the first voice bot kind of process can be done, wherein the message can be that XYZ college starting admissions. If you are interested, press one, and if they press one, then basically it becomes your hot prospect, and then you assign the agent to do the next steps. That is number one. Number two, especially if in cases where the student is not responding to the counselor in a couple of attempts, right? Let's say you ask the counselor to do minimum of, let's say, 3 attempts, and the fourth attempt can be a bot call. In case if the student is really interested, he'll respond, and if response comes, you basically reactivate the lead again and move to the next step, right? And the other important part of messaging, which we have seen in the last 1 2 years, ideally, is on the student self-serve journey. Now, a lot of colleges in 2020 or before COVID, most of them used to ask the student to come to the college, take the application form, fill it there, and submit. Now, most of the colleges have shifted to the online application process, where they have a application form of Lead Squared or any other platform, and then the student fills the form online, right? Even the surprising thing is, even if the student comes to the campus, they just give the link of the application form and ask the student to fill that online. So that's a funny thing which I have seen. And the college is very fair that we basically stopped any kind of paper application process, and we want to have everything online, right? That's a good positive movement in terms of the industry. Now, what happens in this journey, right? The student is filling the application form, and in general, and it's general human tendency that you basically have queries when you fill any form, right? It's just not application form. Whenever you fill a form which is more than 20 30 fields, you usually get questions. Now, can how can a college basically either help real time to help the student to solve the question, right, or help him to clarify his queries and get the application form filled, or is there a method where we can deploy where the counselor can guide parallelly, right? And guide the student in submitting the form online, right? Now, obviously, again, the question comes that can everything can happen in a single go? The answer is definitely no, right? For example, the student have to submit five, six different documents while submitting the form. Now, the documents may not be handy because he doesn't know what documents the college will ask, before starting the application, right? So in those cases, obviously, one, the communication becomes the key, right? Whenever the inquiry comes, the message should go in such a way that these are the five documents you need to keep ready when you start the application form, so that he is already informed, right? And the beauty of platforms like Lead Squared is to actually have this journey streamlined, where starting from your inquiry till the enrollment, whatever steps you have in the student journey, right? Basically, updating his information, collecting documents, paying the fee, the paying the application fee, paying the admission fee, and if there are large colleges who have some assessments, who have merit listing, and all these use cases. So that's where a platform like LeadSquare comes into picture to automate this journey and have a seamless flow for the student, right? Quickly moving on to the next slide. Yeah. So this is where I was talking about having a tool which basically connects all the dots. Now, who are the parties involved in a admission journey in general, right? So in the first party involved, obviously the student or the parent. The second party involved is the counselor, right? The third party obviously is the college, basically the admissions head or the admin of the college, right? Who is actually looking at the holistic data, right? And then the marketing channels and lead sources where you generate data from, right? Where the student is coming from. Now, everybody have a certain role to play, right? Now, a publisher or a partner who is passing leads want to have visibility on what is happening on those leads. The counselor who is getting the lead is more interested on whether this lead is a qualified lead or a junk lead, or whether he'll pick the call or not. The admission head obviously is more keen on how many calls my counselor is doing, whether he is really talking to the students or able to convince the student and convert, right? Now, from the student perspective, he is looking towards a seamless journey, that if I go and start my application process here, how seamless the next steps are, right? Like, for example, there are scenarios where the student completes that application form and he didn't get any notification or anything, right? So that's where the student journey is broken. Right now, there's no process where the student gets a thank you message, the student gets a next step that, dear candidate, these are the next steps, and you can reach out on this number. So that whole journey is where you can see on this particular slide, starting from capturing data, prioritizing the data in terms of what to which lead to contact, when to contact, assigning it to the right counselor. Now, one of the key challenges practically we have seen and definitely will change in future is the expertise of the counselor. Now, you may have 20 counselors sitting, right? And each counselor have a different expertise. Like, somebody is good in convincing students for MBA program, somebody is good with a local language, somebody may be good at convincing a tough candidate, right? So basically, we call it a student persona and matching that persona with the counselor, right? Now, simple logics are course based, language based, etc. But what will change, if you ask me, in 2023 is people will look at assigning performance based leads. Like, if I am a counselor and my conversion rates are high, probably this counselor should get more leads or a different set of quality leads, so that as a business your conversion will improve, right? And then analytics and 360-degree view, I think a lot of large colleges already started investing on analytics. The reason being, they want to basically take informed decisions. Again, the core logic boiled down to the spend what they're doing on marketing, right? Now, if a college is spending a 2 crores or a 3 crores of amount on all kinds of digital channels, they don't want to take the next year's decision without having right information, right? So they want to clearly know which source worked out this year, what is the conversion of that source. I'll give you a simple example. One of the colleges spent a good amount on AdWords and Facebook, right? Now Facebook generated 1,000 leads and AdWords also generated 1,000 leads, but Facebook conversion is only 5% and AdWords conversion is, let's say, 35%. Now the spend is same, the number of leads generated is same, the conversion is high, right? Now in lot of cases this analytics is lost, which means next year they'll say, okay, I got leads from Facebook and Google equally, we'll spend again equally. But that's not a logical way to spend, right? So that's not data driven decision. And again, Google and Facebook are small examples, but if you're really spending with a lot of partners outside, different agencies, different publishers, so ROI actually becomes a key parameter. And having a tool which basically gets you analytics in terms of what ROI you're making on each source will define the success in terms of your marketing strategy, right? 360-degree view of the student. Again, this is pretty straightforward. Now this is just not in education, across all industries. Wherever you go, they talk about having a single view of a prospect or a customer to basically serve them better for a long run, right? So any questions, team? So we'll be happy to answer any questions. Please drop on the chat box, right? So this is a typical student journey. Maybe little boring slide for some of you guys, but this is a typical student journey in a university or a college, right? Where the student starts the application form, right? That's the starting point. Now if you see the journey of a student, there is a pre-application journey wherein the student is inquiring. He's still not sure whether he will be opting for that college or not, but he is actually window shopping in terms of submitting inquiries in multiple colleges and seeing the response and maybe basically thinking on which college is better for him, right? That's a pre-application journey. So in pre-application journey, what will change going forward is colleges need to be really really proactive to talk to the student at the earliest possible. No, whenever the inquiry comes, that's definitely, I think a lot of colleges are already doing it. More and more colleges will join that party in terms of connecting with the student at the earliest when the inquiry comes, right? Now why it is important? Because the student, the new age students especially, are already tech savvy, right? So they are, most of them are actually inquiring on the mobile itself, right? They don't even log into the desktop and put an inquiry. So when they are doing this, they are bombarded with a lot of ads, a lot of options, a lot of colleges giving their promotional activities. Now I'll not say the first call will get a better conversion, but you have high chances that the student remembers you and the student actually may connect with the college, right? So that's number one. Then the second part of the journey is application journey in itself, which I partially spoke, where the student initiated the application form, paid the application fee. Then what happens in the process to get enrollment, right? Now there you have a lot of colleges have group discussions, interviews. Some colleges have a individual entrance test for the college itself, right? Some colleges have a merit listing based on his previous course and different categories. Now whatever the process may be, but you need to have a streamlined and a defined process where all of this can go step by step and without less of headache and manual intervention, right? Then comes your post application journey, wherein you applied, you cleared all of that, all the processes, and you got the enrollment. Now there is a typical withdrawal process which happens in a lot of colleges, right? Because the candidate is selected but he's not joining. The candidate paid the fee also and he's not joining, right? For various reasons. Some are really genuine reasons, because he's actually exploring more options. uh, so how college tackles that? Because in a lot of colleges they close the admission and then 5 students drop out, right, in the last minute. Now then how to get those filled again, right? What processes you will follow, and can you make the withdrawal process also seamless, right? Because the application process is seamless. It is like in a shopping kind of a scenario, right? Buying is easy, but when you want to return it, a lot of times it's not easy right? But in college, can you make that also seamless, right? Like what Amazon did or Myntra did, probably, that they actually took the market saying that return is also easy, right? So withdrawal process can also be streamlined. It's not that difficult. Like if a college is keen on making sure the brand is set and the withdrawal process to make it easy, Lead Square kind of a tool can help to manage withdrawals also very seamlessly, right? Now, in all this process which you see on the screen, the major step or the problem statement is how you will handle the drop off ratio. Like the student can drop off at step 1, step 2, step 3, step 5, or step 10, right? For each point in the flow or in the journey, the communication is different. The student current mindset is different. Like somebody who paid the application fee and not paying the admission fee, probably, his mindset is different, right? He needs a little more information to, or a confidence to say that this college is best, right? Now somebody who filled the details but not paying the application fee, right? Maybe there is a genuine payment issue, or he's just filling the form and he's no more interested in paying the application fee, right? So each journey, I mean, or each step, the journey will change. So that's where a comprehensive tool which basically caters to different needs in the process is what is needed, right? And in lot of scenarios, a single tool may not solve also, right? Now, like Ozontel plus Lead Squared is one solution, right? Then similarly, Ozontel plus Lead Squared plus a WhatsApp bot is a solution, right? Maybe Ozontel plus Lead Squared plus bot plus and website chat may be a solution, right? Or an application journey of Lead Squared is a solution. So basically, as I said already, a single tool fitting all may or may not solve. But yeah, in colleges, majorly the admission process is handled by the CRM and post admissions by the ERP usually. But again, it usually depends on the type of college you are running, right? Type of admissions you are running. And in the recent news, like last 1.5 year, a lot of universities got licensed to sell online courses, right? The distance learning and online learning programs. At least, I mean, as per the news, like some 700 colleges or 700 universities got the permission to do it. Now, if a college want to run online, these processes are no longer optional. They just become mandatory, because in a general college it is still okay because it's a normal admission, right? Wherein you already have inflow of candidates, you have 60-70% seats filled by default, right? But when it comes to online, it becomes a mandatory process because it's about volume, right? Like you basically want to cater to thousands of students, and that too pure online, where the student may not even come to campus. So there, the more processes you have and the more robust automations or tools you have to automate that, and that's the best thing to drive your admissions. So future trends, I think most of the trends we covered. So one, obviously, which will remain is to improve turnaround times, how quickly you can reach a student, how quickly or how you cannot miss a follow-up, and manage follow-ups effectively. Number two, an increasing trend and which will increase going forward is how you can make the student do a lot of things self-serve, right? Wherein can you automate the fee payment process or fee collection process? Can you automate document collection process? Can you automate information collection online? So that definitely will increase as you progress, right? That's number two. And number three, I think a lot of colleges will go on seeing marketing just not as a lead gen activity, and a lot of them will actually pursue that as a number, or basically they focus on more conversion than just lead generation, right? So that's again an increasing trend which we have seen. And overall, colleges going digital in itself is a trend. So at least we have seen, I mean, I personally have seen in the last couple of years, a lot of colleges went digital. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
think.
and Murli, what one big trend, right, in motivating the digital slash online education. Uh, if you see the community, at least in the upper middle class, more lot of kids are doing homeschooling now. The trend is continuously on the rise,
Correct.
and uh, that in itself is a challenge because if you still follow the traditional education system, then your enrollments would go down sooner or later.
Correct.
So going digital, I think is becoming a need more than anything else right now, even for colleges. And if you've seen K21, right, the online school, obviously they are growing like anything now, and that's the competition which the brick and mortar colleges and schools would face actually. Okay. So
Yeah.
while yeah, India is a pretty big market, so we are lucky that we are doing the business in India. But I think still that trend is changing even in the entire middle class at least. So that's something which people will have to figure out in their marketing campaigns on
Yeah,
how they
it's
attract
a
people.
hybrid culture is the word basically.
Yeah,
So, I mean, see, you would have seen Byju's, right? Byju's opening tuition centers across India. That in
yeah,
itself is a hybrid trend, right? They know
yeah,
that digital is necessary, and they also know that people may still want to go and send a kid to a tuition center, like what our parents did when we are
yeah,
kids. Yeah.
yeah.
So I think yeah, that's a good discussion. Any specific questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Uh, yes. So I don't see any questions here, but we did get a couple of questions through email.
Okay.
Uh, can we take them up now if that's okay?
Sure, sure, please.
All right. Okay. The first question is, what are some of the key metrics that help us measure the qualitative impact of our marketing efforts?
See, marketing efforts usually two things, right? Again, the core logic comes up how you see your marketing activity as, right? So if you're seeing your marketing activity as a lead gen activity, then it's straightforward, right? How much you spend, how much leads are coming in, and what's the revenue you make out of that. That's number one. Number two, in a lot of colleges, especially, marketing is a combination of branding plus lead gen plus generating revenue, right? Like lead generation and conversion. So if you're looking at branding as an activity, like for example, a large university takes a one-page ad in a newspaper, right? That usually costs a bomb, right? A newspaper or a full-page newspaper ad for a week or 10 days is not a cheap way to promote, right? But the thing is, I think in a lot of colleges, there's a UGC mandate also that they need to do certain advertising, and promotions in the budget perspective. But keeping that aside, coming to your question on conversion, the marketing analytics, I think looking at ROI is one of the key, right? Rather than how many leads you generated, what you need to look at ideally is what is the spend which you did on a certain promotion or or a source, and how much ROI it generated. Right? That is number one. Number two, how consistent that particular source is working out for you, right? See, for example, a publisher or a partner may send leads at one shot. Maybe you may get conversion immediately, but is that particular partner worth for the next 10 years to be a partner for you and generate consistently that business, right? So that is something probably will not do in a year one or year two, but over a period of time, basically, you will have your trend analytics on which source is working out. Now, for example, it took Lead Squared at least 3 to 4 years to understand that webinar is one of the source which will work out. Just kidding, but yeah. So,
True, true.
continuous process, and yeah. So you need to basically have the objective clear. Then the rest will follow easily.
For sure. Prashant, would you like to add something to that?
So one thing here, um, most of the marketing spends, right? I would say has to be split between branding and lead gen because branding is what will give you that direct funnel. Okay, so basically that's the direct 70%, 80% students who would join the educational institute. Uh, one for that percentage to not fall from the previous year. If you had 50% students coming in that mode, branding would ensure that it doesn't fall at least compared to the previous year. Okay. And the lead gen activity is a must because obviously because of the number of institutions which are there, students have so many choices. So even if you are a very good institute, still you need to market yourself and get people to learn about you. Without that, it's very difficult to get your entire quota filled in for the year.
Of course, I agree. So okay, before going to my other questions over email, we have a question here. Neeraj asks, can you share with your experience the percentage of conversions of fee payments if application is open to admissions? Close dates are put in four equal uh, time quadrants. I will just put the question up on the screen so that everyone can see it. Uh,
Okay. So fee payments, I'm assuming not the application fee, you're referring to the admission fee, right? So if you see the lead to conversion, right? Which ideally, when I say lead to conversion, the enquiry, right? Like it's not even the application paid, but enquiry to admission is generally around 15% or so in majority of the colleges. Again, based on what kind of marketing they are doing, and these are digital source conversion I'm talking about, leaving the offline uploads and the data they purchase, because that's a huge volume of data colleges get and upload it without verification. So from the verified leads to conversion is usually 15-20% in a good college, right, generally. Now, coming to the application fee payment to admission, that's a good number, and especially there are colleges where I have seen personally above 40% to 50% and more as well. Like, which means out of 10 students who pay the application fee, about 4, 5, 6 also gets converted into an admission, right? Now drop off ratios are there. Obviously it's a business rule, right? So people, students usually drop off for various reasons, but if you see the course wise, if you break up in the category wise, in MBA colleges the decisions are more informed, so the drop off ratios are little less compared to law courses or various other courses. In MBA, at least the student boils down to two or three, and he'll just not do a lot of window shopping because he has certain thing in mind to do for that particular category, right? BTech obviously is more, kind of, I'll not say unorganized, but it's more of cost versus proximity of the location versus placements majority of the times. Now suddenly he realized that some college is promising a placement, he just goes and joins there as well. I mean, at least I have seen personally students doing that, right? Our parents doing that rather. So yeah.
uh, Prashant, anything to add to that?
So I think I'll focus on that four equal time quadrants because I'm assuming that here they're talking about quarter on quarter they put the same courses live and they're trying to get admissions to it.
Okay, these are
Usually,
the college then.
yeah, usually if you talk of India, right, even if you're trying to do the same course again and again, unless you're a completely online course, usually the trend is they would go for that June to March kind of a sequence. So typically, you would see that even if you are an online education institute, completely online education institute, your leads are more during that March to May season for the June entry. And time quadrant might not vary because you can't change consumer behavior, right? So you have to follow that education trend. So can you put more capacity for the June thing versus the other time quadrants? That might be a thing to look at. And your conversions would vary based on that actually. So June you would find a lot of conversions, whereas the other ones maybe students are already enrolled somewhere else, so you won't get so many conversions.
Yeah, I think there's the next question from Kerit. So, Kerit, so social media interactions and response times, if you talk about, so two things. One is, I think bots. using bots is the best way actually to start with. Now the WhatsApp bots currently have link with what Facebook Messenger also, and you can actually have bot conversations as well, right? So that's the best way to respond initial queries. But for a prospective lead, which means your bot already answered couple of pointers and the student is really interested in taking to the next step, right? Then a tool like Lead Squared, integrated with a telephony tool to basically quickly remind the student about a task, right? Create a automated task, and then even dial and connect to the student and connect to the agent or the counselor to have a discussion. I think that's the best way to connect them. And you also have to have a process in place to manage your turnaround times, which I spoke about, right? You need to create a process or a method on what is your turnaround time as good as per your college. Like for example, a tech company may say that 15 minutes is my turnaround time, right? A college generally, I have seen that they say, okay, 2 hours is a decent time for my counselor to call the student back. So you need to define that as per your college, and then use a tool like Lead Squared. Obviously, I'll pitch Lead Squared, but use a tool which can help you to do that and automate that process.
Uh, all right. Prashant, if you want to add something to it.
Yeah, so if you're talking of outbound, yeah, what Murli suggested is the perfect way. If this is inbound, right, you're getting a lot of inbound inquiries on social media and you have to respond back. Bot might not work on all the queries, so then you might want to have a call center agent replying back to it. So you can use a mix of Ozontel and Lead Squared for that actually. So
Correct.
both would work, yeah. So that's like real time, right? There's not even 2 hours response time. The chat would go in a queue and
Correct.
agent would respond to it as soon as they're available.
If you want to do it real time, automated calling is actually best. Like you have
Yeah,
an
if
inquiry,
you,
connect to the agent and connect
yeah,
the student who is online and just start the conversation.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question, Kerith. All right. So I'm going to take up another question, and this is directly to Ozontel. A lot of people have asked, will Ozontel help us for cold outreach when it comes to students or parents?
Sorry, what? Poor outreach.
Cold outreach.
Cold outreach. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Cold outreach. Okay.
So, so cold outreach is a very tricky situation, right? Because one, there is DNC calling, right? So you can't call the students unless they've opted in to your educational institute, and you can reach out to them. Okay. So following DOT regulations is a must, especially when you're trying to do cold outreach. You just can't call anybody just like that. Also, that's where the design of the campaign is really, really needed because even when you're doing cold outreach, right, the student doesn't know your number. Most likely, they have Truecaller or something installed, the number might be marked in spam already. So, are you using Truecaller for business? Are you using Google verified calls to say what's the reason for the call? Okay. So do you send a pre notification on an SMS or WhatsApp, say telling the student this is the reason we're calling you? So that even though you're not taking permission, still it's like a notification, right? That we're calling you for this reason, and this is the number we'll call you from, and then the probability of somebody answering your call would increase. The other way to look at it is when do you make that cold outreach call? It really, really matters. Okay. So, if you're calling students, especially not the parents, but the students itself, right? If you call between 8 and evening 4, you would not get good answer rates. They must be already in a college, in a classroom. Chances of picking up a call are near to zero. Okay. So if you call them between 4 and 8, what we see is the trend is that your answer rates are higher at that time because usually the schools colleges are all done and the students if it's again the if is who is it that you're calling if it's a student. Okay. If you're calling the parents, 8 to 10 works, 12 to 2 works, lunchtime, breakfast time, then 6 to 8 p.m. So there are slots where parents pick the calls. And if you call any other time, your answer rates are near to like 20% or so. You wouldn't get good answer rates. But make sure that you don't call DNC numbers. Okay, if it's a cold outreach, definitely DNC is for that. There are a lot of complaints which you will get into, and that's a unwanted scenario for a business. Okay. Usually stick to the digital medium as much as possible, and if you have an opt-in from the user, I think that's easy then to do an outreach for those users. Yeah.
Understood. All right. So we've actually come to, we are time bound, unfortunately. But there are a couple of other questions as well that came through email. I'm sure we can answer them through email itself. Okay. So with that, I think it's time for us to conclude the session. But before we do that, to both the speakers, if you have any closing notes, we'd love to know.
If anybody want to explore Lead Squared, just drop a note. We'll be happy to connect, or Ozone Tail for that matter.
Yeah.
But I mean, jokes apart. But so I think whoever is part of the admissions teams, it's definitely a need to go digital, and especially to manage ROI and turnaround times, because that's where I see actually efficiencies improving for future for colleges.
Yeah.
Definitely. Prashant?
Yeah, and I think there are three things, right? Schools, the engineering tech education, which is at undergrad, then the postgrad education, which could be online, the online sector as well, right? So for schools, actually, the trend is changing where it's mostly digital now. Even though it's the parents are also pretty young. Okay, so reaching to them on digital mediums does help out. When you look at the undergrad segment where you're actually trying to reach out to the students also along with the parents, right? Because students, those guys also have a perspective right now. Social media seems to be the trend there. So if your college or online school is trending, people generally try to get attracted to it. So see how you can create those trends. It's not just about texting messaging itself. How you create good campaigns overall, right? That matters. And for postgrad, I think online is the only way it works for the and postgrad. Most of the times, these are the people who are already working for a year or two after their undergrad. So it's always going to be online, but online with email might be the best way to look at it. Yeah, that's my take on how I would have done a campaign for these sectors.
All right. Honestly, a lot of questions that we got over the email as well was about the way forward. Is it going to be digital, or is it going to be completely offline, or like you rightly mentioned, a hybrid or a phygital model? I think this webinar gave a very crystal clear answer to that on what the experts think about the way forward. So yes, once again, thank you so much for joining us, Prashant, Murli. Thank you for a very, very detailed session. And yes, to the wonderful audience as well for being very engaging. And to the team of Lead Squared and Ozontel for hosting this webinar and yeah, setting everything up. All right. So, with that, I think we've come to the end of the session. Once again, thank you, everyone, and have a very nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.